Alrighty, everybody. This is Tevin with Tevin Talks, and got a special guest on here. Somebody that I worked with years and years ago at this grocery store called Sprouts. Unfortunately, I left after a few months because guess what? They didn't like to pay good money. But hey, here we are. And of course, I'm with my co-host. He goes by the name of.
Normally it's Ben Grayson, but when I'm with you guys, it's Benny.
Yes, sir. And we are here with a special friend. I'm gonna let him say his own name, but I just want to put a little bit of accolades over for this guy. For one, this man has served our country, so we thank you for that. Number two, this man is a devoted husband, a devoted father, and when I tell you he loves his family, this man loves his family. And this man, as of today, is 33 days sober. And I just want to say that, brother, we're proud of you. And we're here for you at any time. Tevin Talks is always open to you. If you ever want to talk, you need a shoulder, we're here for you.
Yes,
And
sir.
no further ado, the man that is standing on the other side of this screen, he goes by the name of
Scott Bivens.
Scott Bivens. How you doing today, brother?
I'm actually doing really, really well. It's been a long day, but we're here.
Hey, man. No complaints. 33 days sober, huh?
Yes, sir. Going on 34 now.
I know that's right. So I just feel like we should just start it off, bud. How
Go
did we
ahead.
get how did we get here?
Do you mean from Sprouts or do you just mean in general in life?
Let's talk about general in life, buddy.
Well, I would say after our little rundown in Sprouts, I had my little time there too as well, and found out that they weren't as family oriented as what I thought. And I've always told every single body that I've ever worked with that family means more to me than money does. And I will tell the person that's in charge of me that every single time. If you can't accept it, then you can go kick rocks.
I respect it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And basically, after I left Sprouts, I trying to jump around from job to job, dealing with fast food, and ended myself up in Kickback Jacks. And I was an assistant manager there at the one on Battleground for, I don't know, probably about 2 years. And needless to say, again, found another job that didn't quite meet the standards when it comes to what I want. So, needless to say, I had a family member that passed away. It was on my wife's side. Her grandmother passed away, and
Sorry to
they
hear that, buddy.
come for the shift that day. And I told them that I couldn't because I was in Charlotte. So, needless to say, came back. They said, "We don't need you no more." I said, "Okay, no problem." And then the next day, my wife said, "I got a promotion and I'm going to officially retire you." So, for the past 6, 7 months, I have not had a job and we have been cruising along, my friend.
Hey man, that's a blessing. And shout outs to your wife, man, for being
Yes, yes.
that supportive, being in your life. Me being married, man, I understand what it means to have that support, to have that loved one, just to come home to after a long day, man. It means a lot. I know without my wife, dude, I wouldn't be worth a damn.
Yeah, that's the truth. I hear you on that on both sides.
Definitely understand that. So, like I said earlier, you are somebody who served our country.
Yes, sir.
Again,
Yes, sir.
I want to thank you for that. You want to run down that and let us know what happened and how
Oh
everything went
yeah,
about?
yeah, man. That's a pretty big story too, but it's kind of short at the same time. Um, and I'd say it was around maybe 20. I don't know, maybe 19, 20, 20, something like that. In that area, I decided to enlist in the military. Go in the army as an 88 Mike as a truck driver. And I did my schooling in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Um, as I was going through my training and my AT and everything like that, I took my AIT schooling there as well. It was during the winter time, so I had no clue what was going on. But needless to say, the main reason why I got into the military was, of course, to take care of my family. I was young. I was just starting one. just had my son. I already had my daughter. I don't remember what age she was at that time, but she just turned 10. So I have a 10-year-old, about to be a 9-year-old, and then a 5-year-old. He just turned 5 on November 1st. So when I went in, I wanted to make sure that I made the best choice possible for the money that I needed for my family, and I knew that I was going to have to be away from them for a while. So that was a challenge in itself, because we were young, still, you know, and needless to say, I got in, went to my went through schooling and everything, became a private, got my enlistment records and everything. I was about 4 weeks away from shipping off. They were talking about stationing me somewhere on stateside. Had a different base, but after I got done with my schooling, I was doing a PT test, one of my last ones, and I was doing push-ups. And as I was doing the push-ups, the drill sergeant that was in charge of me, he was on the ground, face to face, yelling in my face, 1, 2, 3, 4, and next thing you know, he was staring at my neck, and I didn't say nothing, of course, because you don't say nothing unless they tell you to say something. So the drill sergeant was like, "What the hell is that on the side of your neck, Private?" And I was like, "Damn if I know, drill sergeant," because when you're going through training and stuff, I know me, I really didn't pay attention to my body because you only got 5-10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, because everybody's got to take a shower.
Yes, sir.
There's not that many showers and stuff like that, so I got to jump in, jump out, don't pay attention to my body. I went to go touch the side of my neck. I had 2 golf ball sized lumps on the side of my neck, and basically I had to go to sick call. And the sergeant general that was there, he told me that it possibly could be cancer. So they sent me to the hospital on base, did a couple CT scans and X-rays and stuff, and found out I had 7 tumors. And once they did the biopsy on the ones on my neck, found out it was stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma. And then, yeah, man, that at a young age, I didn't think anything could hurt me. I didn't think would never, kiss death that close, and that early in my life. But needless to say, man, it opened my eyes and scared me because it was stage 4, and they said basically if we don't start radiation now, chemo, then you got about a month or 2. So it was really hard to process that, especially by myself, because I knew that eventually I had to tell my wife, and then I had to tell my family. So it was really hard to process for a couple days. And I'll be honest with you, as much as I wanted to tell my wife, I waited, I think, about a day just so I could, kind of ground myself and try to also be strong for her. Because dealing with this whole situation with cancer at the same time, she had a sick mother at that point in time, and she was taking care of her along with taking care of the babies that we had. So I didn't want to put her in the biggest 5 o'clock alarm in her life, but she was my rock and she's my best friend and she's the only one that I had. So I had. Yeah,
so
go ahead.
You're in Missouri, right?
Yeah, Fort Leonard Wood. Yep.
And your wife's back here in Carolina.
Yep. Taking care.
You had to kind of just sit on that.
Yeah, man.
And I couldn't imagine like processing that so quickly, like on my own, without my family, without the people closest to me. And like that's pretty strong of you to begin with.
Yeah. Uh, never really thought about it like that, but yeah, man.
Yeah, man. And I'm somebody, I knew this story, not to the exact detail, but me and you talked about this when we used to work together.
Oh yeah.
And I just knew for a fact this was something that the world needed to hear because it's a special story, man. Like just to know that you're still here after dealing with stage 4. I lost my mother to cancer, so that
Yeah.
hits home for me. So just the fact that you're here after dealing with what you dealt with and that little bit of time being by yourself, brother, I commend you. And I want to say I love you, bro.
Yeah, I
And
appreciate
I'm
that.
glad that you're still here, man.
I feel you. I feel it.
All right.
But,
So you processed it. You know you need to reach out to your wife. What happens next?
well, when it comes to communication, in the military, it's when you're going through training and everything. Basically, the only way that I was able to communicate with her was with writing notes. We would get mail,
Mhm.
and for the longest time, we weren't able to even use our phones because of the strict policies they had dealing with the training and just making sure that you are completely cut off from everything so they can basically tear you down to rebuild you from body, mind, and soul. So, whenever I figured it out and they gave me permission, I had to get my phone together, had to charge it, had to make sure that the signal was good because most of the time the signal was bad. And then there was just this one instance where I got the signal out, and eventually I called her and I was like, because they technically they can call, but the only time that they do call is when it's literally life threatening. So the person can't actually communicate, and they have to communicate for that person. Um, but I communicated with her. I told her about what was going on, and of course the reaction was really rough, and it was I didn't know how to I didn't know how to tell her that I'm in the best shape of my life because I really was, man. I didn't notice. I didn't notice my body losing weight or being fragile. I didn't notice getting more sick. I didn't notice, those bumps. And I was running, a mile in 12 minutes or 2 miles in 12 minutes because that was a part of the PT test. And I was doing the most push ups I ever did. I was in the best shape of my life. I had a six pack. Man, I ain't had a six pack since then. And and basically, this is what it runs down to. I would think the reason why I was so damn healthy was because of the military, and it was because of the strict diet they had me on, which was either 2%, 1%, or no percent fattage at all in any kind of milk, any kind of food. It was basically, it was bland food that they can make everybody that nobody was allergic to and stuff like that. But I had three square meals a day. I got to eat as much as I could, dealing with the sides and stuff. So I went to town every damn day because the training they put you through makes you extremely hungry. So I had no problems with eating. I had no problems with stretching, with doing physical activities, with strenuous activities, anything like that. But then the moment that they decided to do the biopsy on it, that's when it went downhill. And my body started reacting, and I started getting sick, nauseous all the time. I started having the shakes, and eventually I had bits and pieces of my hair started to fall out. Um, but that really didn't come into light until I started the chemo, and that's a whole nother place because after they moved me from the hospital, it was another 5 more weeks before they could ship me out
Hmm.
back home. Yeah, so I had to wait another couple weeks, and then eventually they moved me to the Wounded Warriors program on at Fort Bragg. So I went there. I was stationed there and with the community care unit that I was a part of. And there was at least, I would say, 5 or 6 more soldiers that were, all of them completely older than me by 10, 15, 20, some of them, 40 years more older than me. And they're going through medical reasons. Some of them fell from a helicopter, or maybe they landed wrong whenever they parachuted out because the 101st is there at airborne is there at
Mhm.
Fort Bragg. So there's a lot of injuries. So needless to say, I did have a community, but at the same time, none of them were going through cancer. So I really didn't have any kind of persons to talk to dealing with that. But good to know though that when I started my chemo, they didn't station me at Fort Bragg to do the chemo. They let me go to Lenore, which was I'd say about 45 minutes, maybe 30 minutes from where I was living at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Which was it's like Hickory area, Catawba County, Conover, Maiden, that kind of area. So it really wasn't that far. But I had my wife, and she took me there every single day, and every single morning. No matter how sick I was, there was a Hardee's that was close to the treatment center that I was going to, and she made sure I ate breakfast every single time right before I took my treatments. And let me tell you, man, I have had a run in with cancer before in my family, and it was my grandmother that passed away, but she could basically be called my mother because she raised me my entire life until she passed away.
Mm-hmm.
But she passed away when I was 10 from melanoma skin cancer, and it started with she had a birthmark on the bottom of her foot, and it basically just fell off one day. And there was a rash and a scar behind, and that's where she found out that happened, and then she passed away when I was 10. So I knew exactly what cancer did to people. It made them into lifeless skeletons, and
Yeah.
unless you're, you know, below your 20s, or I mean below your 30s, you really don't have that big of a chance to beat it. And I just knew that if I stopped eating, I was going to go down the same road, and I just couldn't do that, man. I couldn't put my family in risk, the one that I made. And I went out there and I found my wife, and she found me, and we as soon as we seen each other, we knew we were going to marry each other and have family together. And I just knew that I gotta keep on pushing. So the the treatment that they were giving me, I don't remember every single medicine, but I was going for 6 hours every day for about, I would say, close to a year. Um, and throughout that time, of course, you got the symptoms with the hair falling out, and eventually I just said, screw it. I'm going to shave the whole thing. So I did. I shaved it before I could look, splotchy and everything else. And I was completely bald and everything. And the difference in between me and my grandma was they gave me some steroids that they said that would help my appetite, and it damn sure did. I blew up like a blueberry, basically. It did the opposite of what I would think that cancer would do to you, and I think that also came into the fact of my physical condition before I started. So basically, I blew up like a blueberry. I was about 270, almost 280. And as I was going through it, I didn't have no problems with eating because of the steroid shot. And after the chemo got done, I went to radiation, and that was just a whole nother beast in itself. Because you never really think how am I going to get through them shooting these rays of waves of radiation into a specific place, which was basically from my middle of my chest all the way up to the top of my head. That's where all the tumors were. I had two in each armpit, and I had two to start with on my neck. So 2, 4, 6, and then the one I have left, um, which is kind of miraculous. It was the size of a softball, and the tumor that was the size of a softball is wrapped around a couple arteries of my heart and my trachea. So, needless to say, it's not operable. So, when the military found out that, after they took their tests and stuff, after I got done with my radiation, or before I got done, they knew that all the size of every tumor. Um, but at the end of the radiation, the softball sized tumor that's still in my chest, it didn't go away, but the rest of them did. So I can only pray that it'll eventually go away, but for now, it'll be there for the rest of my life. And yeah, I've been in remission for going on, I'm pretty sure 6, 7 years now. So it's not cancerous, but it'll be there for the rest of my life, and I'm got to deal with that every day. You know, the next test, the next CT scan. I'm always asking the doctors, did it get bigger? Did it get smaller? And to thank God's grace and everything in between, and whoever's watching down on me. Sometimes when I go in, it does get smaller, but it will never go away. So I'll always have it there.
And just to hear that, man, like that part I didn't know. That's scary as hell. It really is. Just to know what you went through, what my mom went through, the chemo and the radiation, like it takes everything out of you. And like
Yeah.
I've seen it firsthand. My mom, she was dealing with the same thing, the hair loss. She ended up shaving it all off. And her getting the chemo, like I'm not sure if it did the same thing for you, but I mean, it got so rough, dude, that her fingernails started turning black. She had these like black spots on her tongue, like it got wicked.
Dang.
And man, just to hear that you're in remission that long is a blessing, man. And
Yes, sir.
like you said, I understand like how you feel on a daily basis, and that's something. Just hearing everything you went through, man, is amazing. My brother, he was in the National Guard for some time, and I'm not sure if like basic training is the same for what you went through, but just knowing what he went through, like I seen that he brought this book home when he got done, and he always explained to me what he went through, and it was some pictures in that book when they put them in the gas chamber.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Brother,
gas.
I said, oh hell no, dude. I'm talking about snot. Benny, snot from people's nose literally just dragging on the ground, bro.
And it's crazy to the fact that like they don't show you behind the scenes of what they do and stuff. And the closest thing that I could even to, I guess, to compare it to would be if you've really, if you've ever watched any kind of military movie, you know, that actually tries to depict how the realness of it is. And we basically just walked into a room, and they had this little like camper propane tank with this. It looked like, I'm gonna be honest, it looked like a bunch of drugs that was being chopped up in a aluminum foil, piece of aluminum foil over the fire. And they said that they gave us all the instructions. They told us to read the creed. And of course, you know, I didn't know how long a person would be able to read it and not cough and not wheeze, because when you go in with your mask on. It's
Yeah.
dawn. And then when everyone's in there, whatever your squad, how many ever people's in there, because they can't fit a whole company, but they can fit, you know, probably about 14 people in the bunk. Um, Once everybody's in there, everybody stands against the wall. They shut the doors. The drill sergeants that yell at the top of their lungs to let everybody know what's going on, and they dawn them off as soon as they flick that flame. And it's smoke everywhere. It's I would guess it would be like 100 times what pepper spray would feel like. And then rub some habanero in it, in your lungs.
Jesus.
And each person, it's really weird. I mean, each person, even though you see all this snot, this tears, you can't breathe, you got to do short breaths, long breaths, hold your knees, make sure your chest is out, you know. They make you inhale as much as possible. And then once you start the creed, basically you get to the third or fourth word, and everyone is suffocating, no one can breathe, and you got about another 20 seconds, and then they'll let you out. And then everyone is either, you know, flight or fight, or they're actually conscious and listening to the instructions that was told to them and following the person in front of them, because you can't see nothing when you're walking out because of how bad your eyes are. So they tell you to put one hand on the soldier in front of you, and follow them out, single file line. And there were some people, let me tell you, man, They didn't know what the hell was going on when that door opened. They said, "Oh, freedom," and started running, and drill sergeants were on their ass like stink on shit. And we basically had to follow. Um, it was like a fence that went around afterwards, just so everyone had a spot to hold as they were walking and ventilating their lungs and trying to get back to a regular breathing, respiration, and everything. So yeah, that was rough. But heck, man, there was amazing parts of it too. The camaraderie, the building your team from day one. That Shark Week, it was crazy for some people. It was a rude awakening, but I was, I had a childhood that wasn't that nurturing, so I was kind of used to it when it came to people yelling at me and stuff like that, and belittling you and making you break down from zero to eventually you're going to be what they want you to be is a super soldier, but not everybody can be. That's crazy. Yeah, but man, they teach you everything. They teach you how to first aid, how to survive, how to make sure someone you check your ABCs before you go to anybody. Your chest compressions, all the way through to combatives, which I thought was pretty amazing with the pugil sticks. And then they taught us how to grapple and stuff like that. And I learned how to put somebody in an arm bar for the first time and pissed them off. And the drill sergeant had to put them down basically before we started to fight. But yeah, it was pretty insane, man. I didn't even think I had that shit inside me until they taught me how to use it. And then when they taught me how to use it, I was a freight train and no one stopped me.
I know that's right. And last thing I want to hit on about that gas chamber that my brother told me. I think he said that they ate before they went into the gas chamber.
Oh yeah.
They were told specifically to drink milk, and my brother did not. He said he drank water.
Yep.
Because I'm sure when that gas went inside you and hit that milk, it rotted that milk, and that's where it's not.
Yeah. Bro. And that's not only the first time that they do it. Most people don't tell you either, but I would say at a total of the time that I was there, they did that maneuver at least 4 to 5 times, and every person was so gullible when it came to the breakfast, because they would trick you. They would be like, "Oh, today is a special day. Y'all been doing good. We're gonna feed you good today. One day we're gonna have steak, and you're gonna have the best steak ever." But it was like, it was it was like a Dollar Tree steak, or what I'm saying. It had a lot of fat in it and everything, and it had a lot of gristle, and everybody was eating as fast as they could, because when you're down there and you're doing training and stuff, everybody gets their food, everybody stands up, and everybody sits down at the exact same time, and you have only 10 to 15 minutes depending on the drill sergeant. Sometimes you have less. Sometimes it's only 8 minutes. You got that 8 minutes to drink however many drinks, which you can only get 2, and they weren't regular size cups. They were kitty size, the ones that you get in the McFlurries in. And you could either get juice or you could get 1%, 2%, or no fat milk. And you had to drink all that. You had to eat all your food and make sure that no food got on your uniform, on the floor, or anything. And then once the time was yelled, everyone stood up, everyone got their plates, and everyone left. And next thing you know, 2-mile run, 4-mile run. And they're sitting there wondering why you got damn 15 privates on the side puking their guts out, and they're yelling at them in the back. There's like 3 or 4 drill sergeants on one person, and I'm telling you, it's crazy. There's so much that goes on. But it was I would say I would love to do it again now, knowing what I know about then,
Understood. Y'all definitely went through it. You're better than me. I'll tell you that.
Facts. I would not have survived.
I think the only thing that I would have been okay with, if you give me 8 minutes to eat, that's no problem. I can do it in 4.
I was gonna say, yeah, exactly. I scarfed that down, and I'm telling you, it was more of, people always said, like, especially whenever you get out, everyone's always like, you can sit there and taste your food, and I'm like, I tasted it, and it went down great.
Oh man.
Scott, how old are you at this point when you're enlisted, going through the cancer treatments? Like, how old are you?
I'm going on about 22, 23.
Okay.
Yep. And now I'm 30. I just turned 30 on the 27th.
How's it feel to be 30, man? I don't know about you, but
Hey,
the morning that I turned, I'm 31. The morning that I turned 30, brother, that check engine light came on.
you're telling me, man. I didn't even know that those words could even come out of my mouth until I said it. And then me and my wife looked at each other and we both said, "Ew, what the hell? How did you get 30?" And I'm like, "I don't even know. We've been together for 10 years. I don't know about that either."
It's a humbling experience, man.
It really is.
It really is.
Tevin, to be fair, I did try to warn you about turning 30.
You did, and man, I felt it. I feel it every day now. You know, dude. I work in pest control, so I'm walking.
Oh yeah,
I'm walking 5 to 6
walking,
miles daily.
crawling.
Yeah, so it's something else. But you know, and then I wrestle on top of that. So I mean, I'm not complaining. Just know, on Sundays normally I'm chilling out and I'm walking pretty slow.
There you go.
You know? But yeah, man, I just God, I just I thank God, to be able to be here and to be healthy, and I know you do as well, man, because you've been through it, and I think that people do not take an account of on a daily basis, how blessed we are to be here. I say it all the time. We have one short life to live, and yours could have been cut a lot shorter, but you're here for a reason. You're here for your wife and your children, and I know that for you, I know it before even you saying it, but you're thankful for that, and you make sure to make the best of every day.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. And I know it kind of sounds cliche, but at the same time, like I have noticed from, I guess, from since I was in, I got done with my radiation, I noticed the small things in life. And even when it comes down to the sunsets and sunrises, I'm sitting there and I'm telling my kids, even when they got their faces, in whatever they're in, if they're in their tablets or talking about something or arguing with each other. And I'll tell my wife at the same time, if we're out and I'm looking at the sky, I'm like, "Hey guys, look at that beautiful sky. Look at those colors." And I've noticed that they're starting to appreciate the beautiful things in life
Mm,
that most people don't slow down enough and look away from their screens in order to actually appreciate.
yeah. I understand that 100%, and I know exactly what you're talking about. Me, I have not dealt with anything to that extent that you went through, but I know when my mom passed, I do that every single day. I don't know what part of the day it is, but I just look and stare up at the sky.
Oh
Like
yeah,
I,
man.
I need a good 5 or 10 minutes just to. And I'm not upset. I'm not
No,
sad. It's just me, I guess, just to like looking up there and just hey, how you doing, mom? Like
exactly.
like you can't take for granted, man, this life, and that's one thing. My wife helps. She helped me so much realize that it's like you can be here today and gone tomorrow. So
Oh,
I make the best of this every single day.
that's the
But
truth.
I want to switch gears, man, because one
Go
thing
ahead.
that I hit on earlier, you're 33 days sober, and that's something that you definitely should be proud of.
I
But
appreciate that.
I definitely want to go back to when this had became an issue for you.
Oh yeah. And beginning of the story, or beginning of the talk, I know that y'all said go as deep as you want, and what comes out comes out. And I'll be honest with you, I'm transparent with most people that I trust, and sometimes that's a small list. And I'll be honest, I was in I was in fast food for the longest time,
Mhm.
and dealing with the fast food restaurant, there's a lot of bad habits that you can start to have. And I had every bad habit that there was. Dealing with stress, just dealing with coming in every single day, not seeing my family as much, not seeing my kids, and going home and seeing how bad they miss me. And I also see how much that it's actually, it's hurting them to the point where they're not focusing in school, they're acting out, they're having more tantrums, stuff like that. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a healed man. I'm I'm what's called broken. I'm a broken man, and you can only build, from the ground up. And I didn't have a good base growing up. Um, and whenever I met my wife, as much as I want to say that, I was a grown ass man, I had all my shit together, I didn't. I had problems with, dealing with my anxiety, dealing with depression, dealing with just racing thoughts every single day. So when I kept on staying at Kickback Jacks and realizing that, you know, I eat whenever I have a second, whenever, and the only second you really have is when you're done with the shift, and
Mm-hmm.
that's sometimes 12 o'clock at night. And be honest, who really wants to eat food at 12 o'clock at night? And the only food that's available is the fastest food, and that's the food that you cook every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that's burgers, that's pizzas, that's fried tenders, fries, something quick that you can throw in your mouth, eat real quick, and make somebody's order. So there was, a problem with eating. I had a problem with being able to have an appetite. So I guess it started years and years ago. I, I, I started smoking a lot. I started smoking weed a lot because it would help. It would help with you know the things after the healing and everything from the radiation, from my bones being brittle to not having an appetite. It would help me. It would help push the pain away, and it would also help me have an appetite. So
Mm-hmm.
I was able to smoke, and then the more I smoked, the more my body kept on saying, "You need more. You need more. Your tolerance is getting up." And now smoking is not good enough. It's not. It's not helping like it was. The only thing it's helping for now is food. And then, just going through life and getting hours cut left and right. Then next thing you know, came the depression and the anxiety of having enough money for bills to be able to pay for my kids to have clothes for the winter, for them to have the simple things like medicine whenever they have a cough. And it was to the point where I was making sure that my family had what they needed, but at the same time, I was using the money that was left over for myself and for selfish reasons. And eventually, it moved from I couldn't afford to buy weed anymore, so I went to alcohol, and I was drinking 2 to 3 tall boys a day, and sometimes it was 2 tall boys before I even started my shift, and that's when it started to be a problem because even though I was a functional alcoholic, I was I was doing it every day. It was not okay. It wasn't healthy, and I wasn't drunk when I went home. You know, I wasn't abusive. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't beating no one. I wasn't, cussing out anyone. I was the happiest man, just like I always am. But that, sometimes is just a facade to make sure that your kids and your wife still move on and still are happy, even though you're not. And I was doing that for probably about 2.5 years, and it just got to the point where the next thing wouldn't work and the next thing wouldn't work, and then I just kept on getting the cheaper version of each thing until I couldn't really hold myself together. And I figured out that it was the toxic environment that I was in. It was the toxic people that I said that were my closest friends, because that also didn't help me make friends. I don't I mean, even to this day I have problems going out and just meeting new people, being friendly. Sometimes I am, and I put on this friendly face, but then other times I'm this big defensive brute that doesn't want to talk to no one, and I'll look at you sideways if you look at me, and I'm wondering if you want to fight or not. But it's really not that. It's not that. It's more of me fighting the demons on the inside and letting other people in. And I I'm going on about 9 months that I haven't drank anything. because me and my wife, we had a heart to heart. I let her in. I let her know everything that was going on eventually, because for the longest time I was quiet about it. I didn't feel
So,
like I could talk to anybody.
so you were essentially just hiding this from your wife. You're only doing it like while you're working or while you're
Yep.
away from the house.
Yeah, literally. And the only time that I would do it would be whenever I was at work. And then I figured out that it was the toxic people that I was around. I was staying after work for 30 minutes to go smoke a joint in the parking lot with all the boys that I used to, chop it up on the grill with. And those are the guys that I talk to every single day. And I was basically the same way I was with that Sprouts, even though I wasn't, smoking and drinking at Sprouts. But there was at times where there was a guy named Gerard that I used to smoke with. He was a real good pal. And come to find out, it's not that I didn't want to be friends with him. It's not that he wasn't a good man or a good person. It's just the fact that I had to put in my brain that I'm putting the weed with the person and only hanging out with that person to feel that kind of feeling, when I don't need that substance. I don't need the weed to be able to talk to someone, to enjoy their time every single time I'm around someone. So I basically, from Sprouts until now, I'm trying to mark off as many people as I've did that with, and I've made sure that I've told them multiple times, like, it's not you. And it's one of those situations where it is me. It really is. You're a great person, and if you still want to do this, kudos to you. I'm not going to judge you. But at the same time, that's just not where I'm at with my life right now. I don't need it.
And that in itself is a huge step, you know knowing the difference between wanting to hang out with someone because you're friends and because you get along and have a good time, and
Yep.
wanting to hang out with someone because they're going to get you high or they're going to get you drunk.
Yep.
That's a huge step. And the fact that you could discern that yourself, again, kind of goes back into what I said earlier about how strong a person you really are.
I appreciate that, man.
I think that man, you've been, the cards you've been dealt in life.
Yeah.
I think it took a lot for you to admit to the things that you did to your wife.
Oh man, let me tell you, the people that don't have anxiety that can just come out and tell someone the truth. I give them my hat, and I wish I can learn from them, because it took everything in me as a man that can't go to his mom and dad, can't talk to them, can't consult someone that has been with you your entire life and know how you are and can talk to you through everything, to telling someone that you love to the stars and back, that you would die for in any day and you would move mountains for, to tell them that, and to know that you have been hurting that person for so long and not actually knowing it, because your brain's not in the right mindset to even comprehend that you're hurting someone else, not just yourself. So it was a trial and error, but at the same time, it was an awakening that I needed.
And this is totally up to you to answer this. I totally understand if you don't want to. So I know that you said you dealt with marijuana and you dealt with alcohol, and you said that you would go to the next thing. What were possibly some of the things that you ended up going to?
Well, I'll be honest. I haven't done any hard kind of drugs that most people think of when it comes to addiction. When it comes to being so strung out that your finances are on zero. It's not cocaine. It's not crack. It's not meth. I never tried any of those things or done any of those things at this point in time.
Mm.
And it was just the fact that I have such an addicting personality that I hyper fixate on a certain thing for so long. And if it works, I'm going to do it. But I also know consciously that I can't do those hard drugs, because I know I know that from the past, and from basically the reason I'm saying the past is I really haven't told a lot of people about, my childhood and about my mom, my real mom and my real dad. But I'm Mexican, and my dad, he was full Mexican. But before I was born, he used to abuse my mother, and he was a drunk as well. Um, and he left me and my mom before I was even born. So I had no clue who my dad was. And then when my mother gave birth to me, she also had complications. She had the mentality of a fourth grader. She basically couldn't raise any of the kids that she had when then she had me. And when I was born, my grandmother and my grandfather basically said that we'll take care of him, and we'll make sure that he's one of the family. And for my entire life, I was told that my grandma was my mom, and I called my grandma my mom. And I never seen my real mom, but I was always told that she was a family member. And then when my grandmother passed away when I was 10, my grandfather that worked three jobs at certain points in my life. He was working two jobs, three jobs. He would always come home, and he would be the one that would just be the punishment. He'd be the punisher. He'd be the one that if you did bad, she's not gonna punish you, but he is. He's gonna give you a spanking, or he's going to make you run laps, the old school ways, of being a parent. And then he'd fall asleep on the recliner because he didn't have enough strength and enough, just get up to keep on going, because he was so damn tired from all the jobs. So basically, that's all there was. And then when she passed away, he couldn't, he really couldn't take care of me anymore because he didn't know how to take care of a child because he was gone for so long. And the child that I was a kid with ADHD and possibly autism. And they had no clue how to even start or talk to any doctors about that to get me help, to give me medicine or anything. And I bounced around to 2 to 3 elementary schools. Then I went to 2 other middle schools, and eventually I ended up in a middle school that I stayed in and a high school I stayed in because I kept on getting expelled from the schools because of my behavior and the way that I was, conducting myself, because I had no role model to look up to be taught, because he was so old, he couldn't keep up with me. So he eventually said, it's either military school or you're going to your mother and to your real mom. And of course, at that point in time, what kind of decision does a 10 to 11-year-old have other than going to his mother and not going to someone that he has no clue who they are and if he's going to be okay, if they're going to feed him, they're going to treat him right? I, my first decision was to go with my mother. And he dropped me off at her doorstep one night, and that was at a trailer park. And I stayed with her for about 6 months. And within that 6 months, I found out that I had two half brothers and a half sister that was always told to me that they were my cousins. And we never visited them because they didn't want me to see that side of the family. And eventually, DSS came into the picture because of how she basically couldn't survive with the life that she had because of the experiences that she's had through her life. And I didn't hold her accountable for it because I hadn't been around her basically my entire life. So it was a new experience for me, and I thought that was the right decision. And come to find out, they took my two little brothers first, which their names are Brandon and Nathan. They went into a foster home, and they got adopted by an amazing family that lives in Morganton, the Lindsay family. And they also have autism and ADHD and, hyper disorder or something like that, to where even though they're old as they are now, which they're probably about 20 years old now, they still can't function like regular, people on an everyday basis. So They message me every now and again, but other than that, I really don't keep in contact with them, my other siblings, because of how spread we've been. And the parents and the people who've adopted them, they don't want any contact with us. So eventually, within those 6 months that I stayed with my mom, DSS took me as well, and I got put into a group home for 11 months, going on almost a year. And that's when, I don't know how, but somehow, my aunt and uncle, which was when I grew up, and I know this is a really weird story to kind of grasp, but um, my uncle Jerry, that I thought was my brother, because throughout my life, Jerry was my brother, Alan was my brother, and then whenever I grew up and actually got into the group home, found out that they weren't my brothers. They were just they're my uncles, because my mom was their sister. So Jerry and his wife at the time, which was Wendy, they found out I was in the group home, and I also had there's a lot of trauma with that as well. And if you want to talk about that a little bit later, we can. But um, when it comes down to that, they found out I was in a group home within about 2.5, 3 months worth. They got their adoption license to adopt me, and they got me out the group home, and I lived with them from middle school all the way through high school, graduated and everything. And then, whenever I was 19, 20, that's when I decided to move out.
Wow, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
you you've been through it in every aspect of life, and you're still here. You're probably stronger than you probably ever have been right now after everything that you've been through. And kind of just to go off of something you said earlier, about hitting rock bottom. Um, I think you hit deeper than that. I think you dug your own grave just to come out of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and that takes a lot of courage, man, to even be able to speak about, because a lot of people have probably never ever been through any kind of situations like that.
Yeah,
But
man.
yet you overcame it, and you're here as a grown ass man,
Yeah.
standing on every bit of business that you can. And I think that's something to be very proud of, man. And I
Thank
mean, even like, coming to being 33 days sober, that takes a lot of courage and a lot of strength from you. And I just want to know, I've seen on you, when and you probably didn't even think I was following you on it, but every single day that I seen you post, I'm reading them.
Thank
But
you.
I think the world doesn't know. You've literally counted down to day 33, explaining how your day to day is. So just to let everybody else know how let's go back to day number 1.
Man. Woo. Let me tell you about that. It was day one for 2 months almost, because I was so addicted to the nicotine from the vape, because not only was I smoking the weed, I was smoking just period with the vape with nicotine. And those vapes, they are, as much as I wanted to say that they were good, they weren't, because they were burning the enamel in my teeth. It was making me cough all the time, on top of drinking, on top of smoking weed. And I was getting to the point where I was literally telling my wife, I need you to help me quit, because the only thing that I think about every minute of the day is my next puff, or when I'm going to get enough money to get weed, or when my next shift is so I can drink. And I don't know how to stop, and I need you to help me. This is the only thing that I can think of, and that is not okay. I need to be able to be a present father and a present husband, and be there for you in the times when you're weak, and when you need someone, and when you need a rock, and when my children need a father. And I was basically just going through life on autopilot, and it wasn't okay. And I basically told her that for about 2 months straight. That's how many times, every single time, I was like, I'm going to put it down. I'm going to put it down. And then a week later, another situation comes up. I need it. I need something. I need this. And then eventually, as many times as I said it to her, she caved in almost every time, because she couldn't see me hurt. She couldn't see me go through pain. And she would always say, well, if this is what's gonna help you go and do whatever is gonna help you to come back, so you can be a better father, so you're not that angry, so you can be more patient with the children, you can understand them, and I was every other week it was happening every single time, just like clockwork. I would make sure I got my weed, I would make sure I got my vape, and I was good. And then it come to the point where that was starting to affect the times that I was able to save money to even go on dates with my wife. I was choosing myself instead of choosing us, instead of choosing to have a special moment or to have happiness or just to be able to not be in a parental environment, just to be with my best friend, to be able to laugh, to be able to think through conversations, to carry on conversations without just one word answers because I was so high and couldn't think of those things. And it was that for a while, and eventually I told her that I'm quitting everything because the way my addictive personality is I'm trading one addiction for another just because it's making me feel better, and that's not what a healthy mental um a mentally stable person can do. A person is able to go through those emotions. They're able to, when it comes down to having rejection, to being able to not have an adult tantrum on the inside and not being able to go through the situations on an everyday, kind of cycle. And I realized that with being a parent, that it's not okay. And as much as I've tried to hide it, it's coming to the surface now, and I'm crying on the couch, I'm shaking, my kids are seeing me sick, not eating, only eating whenever I'm not home, and just not being able to be present with them, to go outside, to even play, to do projects, to help them with their homework, to teach them how to tie their shoes, to make sure that they're potty trained, to make sure that they're going, having friend time and going doing Halloween and Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I don't need to be high. I don't need to drink. I need to stop. I need to stop everything, because not only if I'm keeping one, that one is still worse than all of them together because I'm still doing something, and I need to find a healthier way to deal with my emotions than to run away with the feeling of a cover being put over the pain.
That's understood, 100%, man. And well, I'll tell you, um, I think that you have so much more to offer now than you probably ever have. And I don't know about you, but just hearing the tone in your voice and hearing everything that you've told us, I think you needed to tell this story.
And it's like, as much as I've always tried to share the story of 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 the cancer and everything, with most of the jobs that I go to be able to share everything all at one time, um, it's it's freeing, but at the same time, it's scary, because I only have a really, really small list of people that I really trust. And I'm one of those people, I will trust you to the point where it detriments myself because I have such a big heart. But the moment that you break that trust, you're basically dead to me, because I don't deal with non-trustworthy people because I have such a small family, but my family is mine and they are for me and I'm for them. And at the end of the day, sometimes blood's thicker than water, but at the same time, you build your own family. And I hold those people on that small list as close as I do with my family because of how much I trust them.
Hey, I respect it, man, 100%. I really do. And I know for a fact that you have a lot more to share with us, I want to hold off on it because this being day 33, I'm here to see you get to day 66.
Yes, sir.
And I would love it to have you back on if that's okay with you.
Yes, sir.
Day 100.
Anytime, any day. Let me know.
I think we do this again, and I can't wait because I think you'll have, and I definitely think you have a clear mind right now. But I think on day 100, you're gonna see such a different Scott within yourself that it's gonna shock you. And I know that just hearing how amazing your wife is, I heard about this years ago, but now she makes you such a stronger person. Y'all's relationship is going to be so much better because this is something you've been dealing with for so long. And just to see you 100 days out without dealing with any of this, man, life is going to be even better than it is now, bro. Now,
Yeah.
like I said, I love you. I'm proud of you, man. Tevin Talks is for everybody. This
Yes,
is
sir.
the platform for you. Subscribe, stay in touch with us, man. If you ever need anything, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Benny. We're here.
Yes, sir. I
Don't,
appreciate
don't ever think that you cannot tell your story. Don't ever think that it's okay to bottle everything. Because like I said, you've had issues with telling this story before. Bro, this is going on every single major podcast platform in the world. Everybody's gonna hear this story. And people
it.
are going to want to hear more. So don't be surprised if they reach out to you and it's just, hey man, I heard your story and I just want to just say thank you, and they want to keep in touch. You're gonna grow a family. And we want to let you know now that you're a part of that Tevin Talks family. And we're here for you. Anything that you need. If you're struggling mentally, reach out, man. We're here.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
Scott, I can't say how much I appreciate you sharing this. I was on the other side of a relationship where I was with someone that was an alcoholic, and hearing you share the struggle that you went through daily, and then when you finally knew it was time to tell your wife and to really get yourself better and beat the addiction, because man, addiction's a hell of a thing. It's it gets such a hold on you and holds such a power over you. The
Yeah.
fact that you realized, I've got to make this change. I've got to be there for my wife. I've got to be there for my kids. And I commend your wife for being there with you through all this. Because I was in her shoes. I know what that feeling is like. And you two really do have that bond and really are made for each other. She stuck with you. She knew that you could beat it. She saw that you could beat it. And the fact that you guys are still together, here you are on day 33, and you're putting things together, you're getting your life under your control again. That's amazing to me.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that. And I'm trying to. And then dealing with the VA and dealing with groups and substances and, talking with people, talking with therapists. I mean, for the longest time, I thought I was over talking to someone else other than my best friend. And come to find out, she really can't be everything as much as I want her to be everything. She can't handle some things in life, and other people have to be talked to. You have to talk to someone else, and as much as you want to talk to your best friend and you love her and you're passionate about everything you want to talk to her about, you can't always put that weight on that person because they can't necessarily, if they can handle it, it's not that they can, it's just the fact that you don't have to put them through that. You can share the load of the emotional stress and everything that comes with it. So, as of right now, I have an appointment to talk to therapists and psychiatrists, dealing with my anxiety and my depression, and dealing with, just going through not having the substance, and talking to other people as well. I'm getting on the road to that, and hopefully within the next month, we'll start the ball rolling on that.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Scott. I commend you for wanting to speak to a therapist. I'm 45. I've not been through everything you've been through, but I had the rough upbringing. I had the rough family life, and I didn't start speaking to a therapist until February of this year. And it's having that outside contact, someone that doesn't know you, doesn't know your history, and you're getting to talk about it, and you're getting an outside perspective.
Yes, for sure.
That helps you rationalize and helps you process, at least in my opinion. It's really helped me come to terms with a lot of things.
For sure.
And I hope that's where it's going to lead me as well. I really do.
Well, man, we're here to finish out this story with you, man, and we're here to fight with you through it, and be fans, be family, man, and just know that everybody on the other side is rooting for you, bro. Nothing but positivity, nothing but love, and just know this platform is for you. Things like an episode like this, man, I want you to just hold on to it, because if you ever have those thoughts in your mind, just go back and listen to yourself and hear how strong you were on day 33 to help you get through day 100 and past it.
Yes, sir.
And just like that, man, it's been a great one. Scott, we appreciate you coming on, brother, taking your time to explain this. I can't wait to see how good things are going to get for you in the future, buddy. And if you ever need us, please reach out, man.
No problem. I don't have any problems doing that.
All right, buddy. Well, guys, that's been a Tevin Talks for the History Books. And as me and Benny always say, we're out.